Zero to Pass coming at you with a deck profile. So the last video I had was a workshop. There's a profile in there, but didn't really fine tune it. It was more of just kind of showing you concepts, giving some of my feedback on things going on, and yeah, just hopefully some tips and tricks that, especially if you're new to Vanguard and you've heard of this thing called Premium and you're like, wow, okay, I like Brantgate and Standard, but what is Premium all about? Well, and so with Brantgate, you've got a number of clans that you can play, and the one I play is basically Link Joker. And so yeah, so for those of you who are playing Standard, want to branch out and play more of a legacy kind of format, Premium, I highly recommend it. It's interesting to see how you can take the Standard cards and mix them in with the OG cards, including some of the strides, right? So we even have strides. We've got Messiah strides for Link Joker, so it's pretty cool. Anyhow, let's get started. So, and as those of you who follow me and have watched my videos, you'll see a few added cards that I'm thinking of at the very end. I'll talk about a few little things that at least I'm thinking about that you can think about. So this is Chaos Messiah, tuned up. So my starter, as you know, I'm gonna run Lucci. I actually don't own the SP Messiah starter. I might run it if I did, but I like this. I jam in almost every sub-faction of Link Joker that I can. I guess the only one that's probably not in here is Star Hulks. Yeah. There are others you can talk about, you know, but I definitely have Starvaders. It's the main job of the main deck is, for the most part, Starvaders. There's Messiah support, definitely, like Sacrifice, but then the strides that we're going into are more so going to be focused on Messiah. So back in the day, we'd be running Chaos Breaker Dragon, and this is from V era. So we'd be running the OG era, and then we'd be running Messiah in the main deck as well. Alter Ego, basically. So old Chaos Breaker and Alter Ego. But this deck, your ride target is Vera Chaos Breaker, which is what you want to run. So the really cool thing about this card, I'm not going to go everything in detail, but the really cool thing about this card is when cards are unlocked, you can Soul Blast one, retire that card, and if your opponent has gift markers, you can basically erase their gift markers and make some for yourself. The other ability it has, if you didn't stride and you're using its ability, is to actually give your opponent a force marker, force 1 or 2. They choose whichever one they want. They have to stick with that for the game. But it doesn't have a gift marker here. It gives gift markers to your opponent, and then it takes them away. It's very thematic in the whole persona of Chaos. So just something to look up. And yes, this is in fact the OG Chaos playmat. So I am running this Regalia piece. You definitely can use Ladder as well. It's one of the cards I'm going to talk about at the end, but Ladder's another option. I like this because you can draw 2, you can counter charge, put this into soul charging. It's very useful for our deck. We don't have Zinc anymore, so it gives us a little bit of that. I am running Close. Close is really cool when you have a Chaos Heart or Chaos, you've got Chaos on your Vanguard, the name Chaos, which you will. When you pitch this to stride, you can Soul Blast 1, force your opponent to take a card from their hand, and they put it face down locked on one of their circles that they get to choose. So I do run this at a higher number. I wouldn't run this at less than 2. This is my main stride fodder. I do have 3 crit stride fodder in here as well, but this is really what I want to be hitting. I want to create locked circles. I'm not really using the first couple strides, at least the first, well, I should say the first stride I use in this deck doesn't itself lock cards. So I need to fuel locking within the main deck. And not just cards like Photon, right? Which says on it, if a card is locked, lock another card. No, I need cards in the main deck that actually do the locking for me. So this becomes even much more important for using Flageolet Messiah. And as you know from the previous video, if you watched, that's kind of the superstar here in terms of, you know, how we get things going to get into Integral Messiah, which is the absolute superstar if you can get that as your finishing move. So grade 2s, I am back down to 8 grade 2s. And bear with me, it does work. Sometimes you do have to G-assist, but I am back on the 8 grade 2s. There is a way to sneak in one more, maybe 2 more. But we are using Black Dwarf from Standard, right? This Black Dwarf's really good because it will attack, give something +5, lock itself. When you have an effect that unlocks it, you unlock it, you can do it again and again and again. It's not like a Rester where, right, it's on placement. This thing just, it's gas. It really is. The other thing that's cool about it is if you happen to ride this and then you Soul Blast it, you can later on, when you stride into a Messiah stride, you can call this with 1 counterblast to rearguard circle. So it recycles itself. And I am running it at 2. It gives me 2 extra great first ride targets for, or I should say, my grade 2 write-up. And so the other grade 2 write-up that you want to look at is Zirconium. This card on Vanguard, rearguard, you counterblast 1, your opponent takes the top card of their deck, and they can put it, or they do have to put it on the field as locked. An open circle, mind you, so you have to be careful with that. One of the reasons why retiring can be so good, because you can open up a circle. So if they put it in the back row, this gets plus 10k until end of turn, and you draw a card. If they put it in the front row, well, you've hampered their attacks, right? So very good card. Again, it is locking itself. It's not locking off of striding or anything. This locks in the main deck. This locks in the main deck. So we already have 7 cards here that are fueling the locking that we need, right? And then we have this card, which is very good with the Messiah strides. For example, Integral. Your opponent's going to go down to 5 cards in hand. If you use this as stride, they're going to be at 4 because you're going to proc the 5 down to 5 and then proc this, they go to 4. This is going to give you more attacks to pressure that hand of very few cards, right? So they can still pull through. You know, you've got PGs, things like that, but it really is pressuring in that regard. So we went up to 2, we're at 4. And the last card I have here is Dubnium. Now, you'd be thinking, oh, there's no Photon, right? Again, we want cards that lock, that not necessarily say, if there's a card locked, lock a card. Photon is phenomenal. If I go up in number here, either +1 more of this, or I may go up to Photon. So 2, 2, 2 Photon. If you want to run 10 cards or 11, Photon is definitely the option I would be looking at. This, I think at 2 is fine, because you want to see it and you're going to be able to recycle it. You want to maximize this. This is more of a late game card. It does have an early game effect of at the end of, basically, if you're in a grade 2 game, you can retire this, right? Soul Blast 1, retire, force your opponent to choose one of their cards to lock. You can do that. It's not GB restricted. This guy is GB2 restricted for its ability that's very much like Zirconium. So you remember what Zirconium does. This guy, when it attacks, you counterblast 1, very similar, right? Your opponent can take a card from their hand and place it on a rearguard circle as locked. Anything, doesn't have to be open. So that's already better than Zirconium. This is GB2 restricted, this is not, which is why Zirconium. So these have pluses or minuses, right? But they're very similar. If your opponent does not lock a card from hand, this is going to get plus 10k, and you're going to draw a card. Very much like having an extra Zirconium in hand. The other cool thing about Zirconium is if your opponent has a locked card, your Vanguard is set to 2 crit. Okay, it's reset to 2 crit. Its crit value is reset to 2 crit. And Bushiro was smart doing that so that you can't have 4 of these out and it's now 5 crit, right? So Dubnium requires Chaos, okay, Chaos name in the Vanguard. So it's a Chaos focused card, just like Close. And yet again, this doesn't require anything to be locked. It requires your opponent to make a choice. So Integral, again, a play. If you use this, they're down to 4, you attack with this. They have to decide, are they going to guard it with a card, or are they going to lock a card, or are you going to just make this big and draw a card? So you're sitting there with 5 cards as well before you drive check. So this is helping plus you. It's frustrating your opponent, basically. It's causing them to make a decision. And if they choose to lock, well, you've got a locked card there in play. So I'm running this. at 2. And I do like that at 2. And I've ran that before at 2, as you all know. So 2 to 3 copies. So that's my grade 3s and my grade 2s. I got to make some room here because the table I'm working on is really small right now. Once things get back to normal, I'll probably explain that in a future video, what that means by normal. I'll have more space to work on. So grade 1s are other, why am I saying our other? These are three of our PGs, okay? The other PG is a PG draw, okay? So we're running Sanctitude. Sanctitude's great because you don't call it, you play this. We're running 1 grade 0 PG, which is PG draw, and then we're running 2 Thorium. This deck locks pretty hard, pretty heavy. So getting the Thorium effect of if your opponent has 3 lock cards when you play this PG to draw a card, it's not going to be too hard. Okay, and we'll get to our triggers here in a minute. We'll get to all our grade zeros here in a minute, not just triggers. So 1 Sanctitude, 2 Thorium, the other being a PG draw. And then I've got 2 White Dwarf. Check the top 5 for a grade 3. Reveal it to your opponent, put it in a hand, draw a card if you so choose to get a card. This also gets +5 when something's locked. That's basically the relevancy in this deck. If there's a face down card, bind zone, or locked. Okay, so we have Claw. Claw's great. Claw on hit, whether or not it's attacking or boosting. Look at the top 5 to get a Starvator. Don't have to pitch anything, it pluses, it's great. The other ability is that you get to throw this into Soul and swap lock, meaning you get to unlock one of your opponent's cards and then lock another one. Say they lock a back row with Zirconium, they have a front row rear guard, you can unlock the back one to lock the front one. Effectively, you got a +10 and drew, and now you've got a front card on their side that's locked. It's great, and that's how I typically use it. Some Messiah support, Sacrifice. If your Vanguard is a Messiah, when a card is locked, you lock this to give something +3 and countercharge. So I've decided to run that at now 2. Sometimes I would run 2 Zirconium. Or not Zirconium, what am I saying? Always 4 Zirconium. 2 Zinc. But we can't run Zinc anymore, so we got this. And this is reusable. It's not fueling our soul, but there are other cards that will do that. And then I'm running 2 of Mineral. Minerals is basically like having a half heal Guardian. I'll show that right now. It's kind of like having this, but 1/2. This card allows you to unlock 2 cards. What you want to do is unlock your opponent's cards, so then you proc him to then draw cards during the battle phase when your opponent is attacking. This allows you to interact in similar manner during the battle phase. When you call this to the Guardian Circle, you choose a card to unlock. Could be yours, especially if you're a mirror match. And this is going to get +5, and proccing this, Soul Blast 1, draw a card. It's very good. If you can get a hold of this, great. If you need to borrow it, it's worth it, fam. It really is. And so, as you see here, I don't have anything that locks on its own. But if we go down 1 more grade, we have the Spawn of the Spiral Nebula. An amazing card from way back when, OG. This card, you shove it into Soul, you lock one of your cards, you lock one of your opponent's cards. You pick. This is an engine for this deck. Because again, you have to lock mostly, now I shouldn't say mostly, but what you're trying to do, the plan in the strides with Flageolet, you got to be locking cards from the main deck. And this is fuel, this is gas. So you could go down to 3. If you go down to 3, that's a spot for maybe a Photon, okay? If you really don't want to play this card, I highly recommend this card. You could go down to 2 and put in 2 Photon. But it's gas, fam. I'm telling you, that card is gas. I did go down to just 2 of this. I wouldn't go down probably less than that. Minerals, you could go down to 1, but again, you want to see the cards. So you'll see that there's a lot of great grade 1s, right? But they're at 2. And so remember, Claw can search for this. Cosmic Dawn, you can do all sorts of tricks. I don't have Carbon in here to go get this, and then the next turn Cosmic Dawn after I've locked it to pick it up from hand, as I explained in my last video. but you can definitely be searching for that too. I just want to throw that out there. But you see, I've got 2s, okay? This is trying to get you into this. It's like having extra copies of this. This is very similar to our G Guardian I just explained. This, it's very specific for Messiah. I would like 3 of this in here, but I'm at 2 right now. Claw's just too much value. Thorium, I like where we're at. If we don't run the 2 Thorium, we run the 2 grade 1 Cosmo Wreath PG flippers, which gives us a little bit more countercharge, but we're gonna stick with that. So again, Spiral, Nebula, Gas, gives you soul, doesn't require a card to be locked when you use this. So we've got Close, we've got Dubnium, really, and we have Zirconium, and we have Nebula. Now, honestly, it's going to be mostly Zirconium and Nebula, followed by Close. They're going to be locking a lot with Dubnium in there to assist. So I'm pretty happy where that's at. And again, that's really important with regards to the way this deck is built. So yeah, so those are our normal units plus our pieces. Okay, so let's go ahead and get all this in the order that I like it. Probably can pick these up for 10 cents. I'm not sure what they're at. Don't quote me, but something low numbers. So for our triggers, again, I'm running the G2 defensive move, which is to run 4 of these. So when you're in your G2, G1 plays, if you're getting just steamrolled, you're gonna want this. You're not gonna want the one that you can get soul charge, counter charge, the resource one. I get it, running one of those. If you do it, works for you, continue. I'm running 4, as you guys know. 3 of the crit stride fodder. And I usually run 4, but Close, the use of Close is honestly in this deck is to be pitched. If you have to write it, you have to write it. It's kind of funky, it's kind of wonky. You don't want to write it, but there is that. It's very interesting, but that's why I feel comfortable with just running 3, because Close really is what you're wanting. And that allows me to run 3 Paradigm. So Paradigm's the one card that's kind of like Photon, right? It requires a lock card to lock. It does not require a lock card to put this, you can put this in play, and it does not require a lock card to go back on top of deck and shuffle, which is really cool. If you have a few of these in hand, you don't have any way to really lock anything, but you want more crits in your deck and you've thinned your deck, go ahead and throw them in. You can do that. But this card allows you to lock a back row, okay? You put it into play, put it back on top of the deck, lock something in the back row if there's a locked card from all that other gas we just talked about, and then shuffle your deck. So I am running Blink at full steam Blink. We're going to be able to utilize this card, all its effects. Defensive trigger as a draw, great. Crit, great. But we're going to be on Messiah. Shove this into soul. Draw cards, get bonuses. Playing it for the maximum effects. I have 1 of the Viera PG draw. And then currently we have Elder Breath in here because it doubles up criticals in the front row. It just doubles criticals. It's just really good. It just helps smack things around. The other one that I consider, and I don't have that in my stack because I'm really sold on this right now, is the purple PG or OT. When you check it, you basically get a heal. It's pretty good. So that's the main deck. Pretty tight in terms of the choices I have there. You know, if you're going to change things up, it's going to get a little rough, but you might want to. You know, if you don't like Dubnium, for example, you could go a different route. But I'm telling you, with that integral play, it might be what you want. So, markers, don't need that in here. So we've got Harmonics. You want Harmonics. Harmonics is going to be a flip target. Flageolet. So I run 2 Flageolet. The way Flageolet works basically is you're going to attack, you're going to flip over a Flageolet. For the number of Flageolet up, you can unlock 2 cards. You're going to unlock your 2 cards, whatever you have, up to 2 cards on your side, to then Omega lock whatever you locked on your opponent's side. That's how that works. Sorry I was so long-winded in the other video, but this is your first ride target. You go on this, you get some spiral going in there, you got zirconium. Yeah, you're locking some stuff, and then you're gonna unlock and then you lock sacrifice in the meantime. So if you play zirconium, counterblast 1, force your opponent to put down a card as locked. You can't use sacrifice there, but then you use Nebula, shove it into soul, lock something, you then sacrifice, you can lock it to countercharge again, and then you have you'll have a counterblast for this, right? So then you'll attack with this guy, you'll flip one of these, you'll do what you need to do at the end of turn. Your count for Messiah cards in your G zone is 2. In order to get Integral's effect of when you ride this to proc, you need to have 3. So Integral's not going to be our second stride. Our second stride is going to be Deluge. You're going to Soul Blast 1. You're going to flip a card face up in your G zone. Any card, it's going to be harmonic. So now your count is 3, right? You're going to pitch a card from hand, force your opponent to take 2 cards from the hand, call them face down as locked on circles, and then take one of their locked cards and damage them. As long as they're 4 or less damage, you get to damage. You get to damage the opponent. Hopefully, you're sending them to 5, and then they're now at 5. Push through, try to shrink the hand, but it's not going to matter too much because next turn comes Integral. When you call, I should say, when you stride Integral, you and your opponent are going to take your hand, put it in your deck, shuffle, draw 5. If you have paid the cost with close, you put close on standby, you're going to proc this first, they go to 5, you then Soul Blast 1, use this to force them to lock a card from hand, face down in one of their circles, so they are effectively now at 4 cards in hand. If you do this twice, which is kind of cool, right? If you got the soul, they're now going to be at 2. So it's not super easy to do. Again, like I was saying, it's slower than Sukumarkan, who is banned from premium now, unfortunately. But that would be your play. And then it has a counterblast 1, unlock things, and then you honestly can flip. You can't flip anything from here, but maybe you want to flip this. You can flip a card, whatever. Okay. So that's basically your 3 strides, and hopefully if you get to 3, if you get to do it, that will be your win con. There are some other things in here we need to talk about. Barrio N, the way it works is it's going to eat markers. Okay, so if your opponent has, they've got protect gifts, they've got a lot of Excel sitting out there, it's going to eat those markers. For every marker that it destroys, it gets +10 in a crit when it attacks. So this thing can get real big, pretty good. This is one of our lockers. Other than this one here, this also locks from the stride deck. This also locks. So Soul Blast 1, flip up a card from your G zone, lock 2 cards, right, and get a little bit of a bonus. If you flip this one up, when your opponent unlocks a card, it's going to get bound instead. Okay. So that's where Alt Wilder comes in. So if these are both up here and you've basically emptied your opponent's board, which is what you want to do, the way this works is you counterblast 1, I believe you pitch 2 cards, you force your opponent for every damage that they have, hopefully 5, they have to call place a card from hand as locked. So this rips cards from hand, very, very much like Nubatama. Okay, Integral is very much like Sukumarkan. This is also very Nubatama-esque in that it's limiting hand size. Okay, I am running this. This you have to, when you're on a Chaos Breaker, you have to pitch a Chaos Breaker to stride this, but once you've strode this, you don't have to pay the cost to stride. You still would have to pay the cost for Ultimate Stride, but not for stride. And the way this works is basically it's going to 0 your opponent's cards, very much like Deleter. It's not flipping them over, making them faceless like Deleter, but it does make them small. It's kind of cool. if, say, your opponent checks an OT defensively, you attack with a rear guard, they check an OT defensively, you then attack with this, well, that's good times, right? So yeah, pretty good. I like Ungai with Jakku Mesa play, maybe a little better than that. I think it's a little bit more, well, it is more surprising, but that's pretty clutch, can be. I still run Stark. Stark wins me games. Stark is ultimate stride. You have to have 3 cards up in your G zone to use this. It's counterblast 2. Chaos, you have to pitch a Chaos Breaker, not close, Chaos Breaker to ultimate stride. The way it's going to work is going to attack 3 times. It doesn't rest to attack, and each time it's going to drive check 1. And these do give plus 25k instead of plus 15. Yeah, so it's pretty good. I don't have Vandal in here, which is great because it goes into Soul, gives us plus 10 until end of that battle. You use it, but it's still in here, and it's one of the cards you could consider taking out, to be honest. We do have a number of potential win cons in here already. We've got Integral, we've got Eldareth. This could be faster, technically. So then we've got 2 of this wonderful Guardian. The way it works is Guardian Circle. You can unlock up to 2 cards. If you unlock 2 cards, it gets plus 10. But the really cool thing is it synergizes with Chaos Breaker, Soul Blasting to draw cards in the middle of battle. Perhaps you get the PG that you need, right? This is our newer one. Soul Blast 1, you can lock one of your cards. And if you lock up to 2 cards, you're going to be able to draw. So, yeah. Draw a card. You lock one in the back row, you're going to get plus 10. But if you lock 2, or I should say if you have 2 or more locked cards, so you could use this, lock one of your cards, and then you couldn't use Sacrifice, right, because you're not on Messiah, but you could potentially be in a situation where maybe you're playing Mirror Match. But the idea here is lock 1 or more. It does give you the option to lock 1 or more back row. So if you lock 2, you're then going to be able to draw a card for 1 Soul Blast, and then say maybe you've got this in hand, you want to unlock them. You know, you could do that kind of play as well. I do have Lacus Carina in here. It's very similar. In this case, you're going to counterblast 1. And let me see here. This, yeah, so this you're locking yourself. This one, actually, you counterblast 1. It does require you to have one of these already face up. Okay, so you can't use this, the first one. But I shouldn't say that. You have to have a card up. So maybe you did this first. It's GB1. It's not, you don't have to have a G Guardian up. You just have to have, you need to be at GB1 when you use this. So GB1, counterblast 1. Let's see here. And you're gonna flip one of your G guards up when you use this. It's an accelerator into GB8. And they came out with the GB8. These particular ones came out with GB8s back in Fighters Collection 4, quite a while ago. If you do, choose up to 3 of your rear guards and lock them. And your opponent locks 1 of their units in the back row for each one you locked. So you lock 3 of your units, they could lock their entire back row. And it's going to, this flips one of these, so it gets your GB count up faster for that. It's kind of what it is for, but it's also, it's good. It's just good. It gets them locked. So that is the Stride deck. Main deck, Stride deck. The thing that you want to consider is what are other options. So I already talked about Dubnium, the count on Dubnium versus, Photon as well. So I am thinking about this. This is pretty good. Goes into Soul. Pretty much gives your guys resist. Like it. Your opponent can't basically have effects pick your units unless it has to do with like placing. Dubnium maybe going up versus something else. So that's kind of where I am in the main deck with regards to options. For the Stride deck, having an extra copy of this that you want to go into is not a bad idea at all. Stark could come out for that. These are also 2 fine strides. This was our newer stride. This is really cool. It kind of acts like a Messiah in the sense that you can unlock cards when you're attacking, but you're gonna be able to look at the top 7 and call 2 as locked, or place 2 as locked. So, and then decide if you want to flip them back up. So this is gonna extend, right? You can get 5 attacks, technically. And if your opponent has locked cards and you've got a Chaos Breaker on the rear guard, it's gonna get +10. So it's a pretty good beater, right? So really good option. I do like it. Running 1 of is not a bad idea. It's going to actually help against mirror matches as well, which is pretty good. So in terms of going in, I'd place this ahead of that. And then I think this is neat. We don't have to have Messiah in the heart for Transels anymore, which is amazing. It is a counterblast ability. But you're able to basically, let's see how this goes again. When this unit attacks Vanguard, has to attack Vanguard, counterblast 1, unlock all of your locked cards. So it's pretty good against mirror match, right? But it's GB3 locked, so it's kind of hard. Choose up to the same number of your opponent's rear guards as the number of face-up cards in your G zone and lock them. Choose the same number of your rear guards as the number of face-up Genesis Dragon Transels Messiah in your G zone, and they get +5. 5k until end of turn. That part's not going to happen because I'm not running more than that. But you can get yourself out of a bind in this and lock some stuff. So late game, it can act kind of like glue ball, but it's 1 card. You don't have to run it with another card. Or another copy of it. It just says choose up to, let's see, what does it say? Do you have to flip? No, you just counterblast. You don't flip anything. So it's really cool. It doesn't require Messiah, and it doesn't require you to run 2 of them. So you can kind of get that in the deck. It's a deck tech card, right? You could Stark, you take Stark out, put this in. So in terms of putting this in, I'm probably more inclined to do that. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, something like that. And then of course these are, yeah. So I hope you like the deck profile. It's now a profile rather than just, you know, a rant for an hour. This was only 32 minutes, so half the time. But I hope you guys stuck with me. If so, hopefully you got some ideas. Like to hear your ideas in the comments below. And until next time, peace.